Hello and welcome, Internet experts. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Little technical issues on the front end. The intro got a little screwed up, and then I almost hit end the stream instead of switch to this scene. So someday I'll figure this live stream thing out, but welcome. Thanks for joining. And I need to shut the audio off on this computer. Fantastic. Quite a day, but I'm running a little late here today just because I've been spent a lot of the afternoon watching the build-up and the launch of Inspiration 4, which was pretty exciting, especially if you've been following Countdown, the Netflix documentary on the 4 civilians who are now over our heads somewhere in space, orbiting higher than anyone has since they did some repairs to the Hubble Space Telescope, and before that it was when they launched Hubble, and then before that it was the Apollo era, the furthest people away from Earth since then. So pretty crazy, pretty amazing that they're up there. As far as I know, last I looked, they hadn't opened the cupola yet, that glass dome, or probably plexiglass dome, that will give them a pretty epic view, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some photos and videos from that. But good launch, really nerve-wracking because of, obviously, there's people on board, and there was a SpaceX launch a couple days ago that was just Starlink satellites, and you want that to go well, and it's cool when the booster lands. But if it doesn't go well, it's not the end of the world. This is kind of the end of the world if something were to go wrong. So glad to see everything went off without a hitch. As far as we could tell, seemed like everything was nominal, as they say. And so that was great to see. And then, the other night it was land the booster, land the booster. And this time it was like, if the booster makes it, great, but that's just a bonus. That's just gravy on top of already the success of launching our brand new civilian astronauts into orbit. So pretty cool, pretty inspiring, and great again to see their stories. If you haven't watched Countdown, on one hand, I have heard some critiques of it saying that it's essentially just an advertisement for SpaceX, which it kind of is, but it's way more about the 4 individuals and then some of the technical team that's helping them. But, excuse me, SpaceX is really just the vehicle getting them. I mean, I know it's more than that, but as far as how it was presented in the documentary, I don't know how you couldn't talk about the launch system at all. And Elon's barely in it. My wife gets a little tired of the Elon talk. So she was a little hesitant going into watching the documentary that it was all going to be Elon talking in his kind of stilted way and be pretty technical and boring. And it's not that at all. And I don't know if you've ever had if as a parent or as a sibling of a child who's had to be in the hospital or had surgeries or, even some minor things, at the time they seem pretty epic. And the story, Haley's mom, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, Colleen maybe. The story she tells about taking Haley to St. Jude for the first time just absolutely wrecked me. My wife got up and I was watching that one morning and just sitting on the couch crying. And when she came out, and she's like, "Okay, what's going on?" And I'm like, "You have to watch this." So anyway, really cool. It'll be fun to watch their journey over the next 3 days, and pretty cool that they got these folks to space. So hello, Todd, Tim, and John. and welcome. Thanks for joining. But to bring it back to EVs and stuff, and John, I do want to talk about Electrify America. Speaking of which, you can't see on the screen because I'm sitting down, but thanks to John for everything's backwards in my monitor. So the Tesla Model Y shirt, appreciate that, and for all the help with Electrify America over the last couple trips. That's going to be Sunday's video. So more on that a little later. But one of the cool things, I've watched, probably most of us have seen the movie Apollo 13 and, some other space documentaries and things, and the amount of rigorous training that goes into these things. And I was thinking, and they kind of showed this in the documentary, that yes, these are civilians, and yes, the vehicle is autonomous, but at any point they might need to do something, and they might, something might go wrong. And to be able to prepare for that and understand those things and be capable of handling them as best they can. Obviously, they haven't had the time of astronaut training, but they've had, 5 or 6 months for the last two to join, and then it seems like Jared, who's the commander, may have had a little extra time, to learn more of the technical things as things, as he was in it, from the beginning. He knew about it before anyone else. So pretty interesting to see, kind of the study they had to do. And, they're going to be doing some experiments up there. And this kind of ties into Beta 10. And it's a weird way, but it kind of struck me this afternoon as I was watching the launch and the launch prep. Where do we get a Model Y shirt? I am not sure where John got this. I think he got it on Etsy. John, if you can chime in and let Aaron know where you got this shirt, that would be great. I don't know, but I appreciate it anyway. And hi, Aaron, by the way. Welcome. Excuse me. And I will remember to turn the audio on again this time. That's the good and bad of having it right here underneath my line of sight, is I can reach it quick, but if I don't turn it back on, I don't necessarily notice right away. So Full Self-Driving Beta 10 came out last weekend, overnight. Friday night. By Saturday morning, some videos were starting to surface. And some people had really good drives and were pretty impressed with it. It seems like I don't want to say aggressiveness, but some of the confidence through intersections seems to be improving, and that's good. But it also seems like in some places that was maybe causing some issues. Hi, Dave. Welcome. Thanks for joining. And I was thinking about that, how, Elon has always said 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So when people like Kim were posting videos that were a lot of interventions and a lot of problems, obviously that's good data to collect, but not what we want to be seeing. We want to be seeing it, obviously, take care of everything and always be moving forward. So, there were some good drives and some cool things, but overall it felt like, this is maybe needs a little more room to go. Rob Maurer from Tesla Daily had his first drive was pretty impressive, and then his second one was not as so. And I think he said last night on his show, the Tesla Daily show, that it's impressive in some things it can do and not so much in others, that it still needs work. But how I was thinking of this in conjunction with the Inspiration 4 mission was when the beta first started rolling out last October, every little thing it did was amazing because it had never done anything like this before. And so to see it, go around a curve or take a right turn well, or, just handle some regular city street stuff, maybe stop for a pedestrian, was pretty, incredible, pretty awe-inspiring. And now we're kind of seeing some pretty good progress. The rate of improvement seems to be pretty good. And so I think the system is getting better, but we're also getting more critical. And like the inspiration for crew members having to learn these roles as they gear up to launch, I think we're also seeing the beta testers get a little more savvy of testing harder things. And I think that's... John sent me the link to the shirt. So I will see if I can connect and show that. If not, I will put it in the description under the video when this is over. I can stand up and show the whole shirt if I can. I don't know if it'll all be in focus. If I climb my stool, you guys are going to watch me drop on my head here. And then eventually I'll finish my thought. So that is the shirt. So pretty cool. Again, thanks, John. So anyway, back to my full self-driving beta tester talk. Is that, I think we're getting savvier as viewers, noticing that wasn't quite right. I think they're getting better of pointing out what is and isn't working well. And so I think the things that would have seemed incredible that it did 6 months ago are seeming kind of boring. And we're looking for those bigger edge cases. How is it handling some construction zones? Gally from Hyperchange has been testing those monorail posts, and it's kind of getting them sometimes. Not 100% yet, so stuff like that still needs work. But I don't think anybody, back in last October would have taken it to an area like that and expected it to work. So the fact that it is now half the time, maybe slightly most of the time, I think that's pretty incredible progress. And again, the more testers that are out there, that pool seems to have expanded, and the more savvy they're getting of testing different kind of situations, I think that's all good. And when I learned how to ski, I came back from a ski trip just down in Mankato, nothing major. Minnesota isn't known for its big ski mountains. But I came back and I was very excited to tell a friend of mine who is a pretty avid skier, I didn't fall one time. And he's like, well, that's fine, but you probably didn't learn anything then either. And at the time I was like, you jerk. I just had this big success. But at the same time, then it kind of made me push myself a little bit further the next time. And so, I think there's been this massive learning process on both the beta testers side and us getting savvier as viewers of it, knowing what to look for or, what are they doing? People who are still new to it are like, why are their hands on the wheel? I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about, kind of seeing how smooth and how fast it's going through intersections and things like that. So, the drop of FSD 10 wasn't quite what I was hoping it would be. But it does seem like progress is being made, and again, we're kind of watching that rate of progress and how it goes. So, another common criticism that gets kind of thrown out is that these are just being thrown out to regular people. And, it's unsafe because just, who are these random people? You watch random people drive, you would say random people are pretty terrible at driving. But I think that when a person is given a responsibility like this, and that's part of this slow rollout, I think it seems like at least everybody we're seeing is taking this very seriously. And we have to remember, although they might not be professional stock car drivers or, trained, high speed endurance driver, what kind of, they aren't the ones riding up in Pikes Peak in Dave's car. That's a different level of driver. But this is, these are people who are taking it seriously and have all taken the driver's test and have all, I don't think anybody too terribly young has it. I don't know that for sure, but most of these people seem to be relatively experienced drivers, again, who are taking it seriously. So, I don't see a lot of, and maybe they would pull these, I don't know, or kick someone off the program, but you don't see people holding their phone and going, "Oh, this is radical, man." People are taking it seriously. So I do think because, like I was saying with the Inspiration crew, having to learn their roles, take it seriously, and know what they're doing has a huge down-the-road impact. I think we're seeing that with the full self-driving beta testers as well, as, the people who are, are accepting this, are accepting the responsibility and, training it better and finding more challenging situations, but also taking it seriously. So I hope that continues to be the trend as it seems to be opening up in Canada and other things as well. So that's kind of my 2 cents there that I just wanted to cover. It seemed like a good parallel in my mind. Yep, we showed the shirt. That's all right. The topic can go off the rails. That's fine. Whatever you guys want to talk about. Just as I was, sitting up in the pre-roll, I just, took one last look at Twitter in case anything, Elon tweets something at the last minute. I would want to include that, but I saw Rob Maurer again on Tesla Daily posted something about I hate the name, but people are referring to the $25,000 model. That there's apparently some timeline maybe. So after this, if you want to switch over and check out his show, those are usually pretty short, about 15 minutes every day. And usually some good information, pretty well thought out stuff. I like to catch his show, but I didn't before the show today. So don't know what he's talking about in his title, but we'll see. Hopefully it's always good to get more details on future projects. Speaking of future projects, future products, Rivian sounds like they are very close. They had their first production vehicle roll off the line, and hopefully that means initial deliveries will be this month yet. The month is half over. Yes, half over. So we'll see how it goes. But if they've already got a couple vehicles off the production line, hopefully that means they can do whatever inspections they need to do and start handing them off to customers, even if they're, a pretty low rate, or, a low rate of delivery at first. And maybe it's just employees or, whatever. investors. Maybe they'll all go to Blue Origin. Who knows? But so that's cool to see. Unfortunately, it sounds like tank turn is a down the road feature, which is a bummer because it was kind of a differentiator. I know, the Hummer has made a big deal of the crab walk, and I don't know if we've actually seen it. I guess we have seen real vehicles on the road. Somebody posted a video on Twitter that had real vehicles kind of crab walking, at slow speeds down a road somewhere. I think that was about 3 months ago. So, they announced the feature. At first it was CGI, and then it seems like they're actually doing it. Rivian actually did do it a couple years ago in their demo, and now is saying, it's not really safe or easy. We're going to have to hold that one back. And it's too bad because, the Cybertruck had its crazy design, great specs. The Hummer had the crab walk and its Hummerishness. And Rivian had the, sport look and the tank turn. And so kind of each one had its own little thing. So it's kind of sad to see that might not... Maybe eventually they'll figure it out or a good way to do it. But it's sad to see that feature's not going to be, directly right away when the Rivians come out. But we'll see how that goes in the future. I have seen other people posting that some of the Rivian chargers have been deployed and are showing up in different parks and places. So that's good news that they are kind of hitting the charging, some of their charging targets as they're starting to hit deliveries. So it's going to take a while to build out that network, but at least they're getting on it and actually putting things in the ground. So that's all good. Just going to catch up here. Yes, I did see Long Way Up. It was fantastic. Loved it. And I wish they would have spent more time. There was a good and a bad about it in that I wish they would have spent more time talking about the Rivians. And I wish they would have spent more time once the charging got easier for the bikes. They kind of stopped talking about it, which is pretty much how all new EV owners are. They, worry about charging until you realize it's not a problem, and then you don't ever talk about it or really think about it anymore, unless you're in an extreme scenario. So the series spent a lot of time in that cold weather when they were in the middle of nowhere, talking about where we're going to charge the bikes. We don't know what we're going to do. The Rivians have to stay behind because of this or that, and it was kind of charging, and worry. And then a couple episodes in, I think after they were charging it in like that living room or like the center room of that, like, I don't know if it was a small hotel or home or what it was, but kind of after they got past that point, it was no worries about charge. And they didn't really talk about now it's easy or any of those kind of things. It became more about the trip, which is great, but for the standpoint of pushing electric vehicles, showing that it isn't always a pain, and kind of highlighting that would have been good. So I don't know if it was better to come out and talk more about that, or if it was better to just, hey, at this point we're enjoying the trip. It doesn't matter what we're driving. It's just fun. So I did really enjoy the series, and I just wish there would have been maybe a little more focus on the vehicles in the later episodes. Kind of at the end, they talked about, oh yeah, they were great, and I think they thanked the engineers and people who worked on it and stuff. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. But great series, and if it gets more people talking about Rivian and the Livewire, then that's great. My next video on Sunday will have a Rivian or a Livewire in it, and I can kind of talk about that in a second here too. And ooh, yeah, I saw Eric's Plaid was on the fritz. That's a huge bummer. Hey Jason, how's it going? How's the paint protection film going? Welcome. Yeah, that sounds like a bummer. I didn't have a chance to check their episode out yet, but I saw it was undrivable or something was in their title, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds awful. They've had it a few weeks maybe. So yeah, that's too bad. So I'll kind of talk a little bit about. I'll show. John and I had a surprise today. On Labor Day, we went over there. John was going to check out his Chatamo adapter with the Electrify America station. So we went over to Woodbury, met there, and got his Chatamo adapter working on the Teslas. Everything was great. And it was free that day. And saw Kyle with his Livewire there, talked to him for a while, got just a couple of clips of him driving away. And then saw a couple bolt owners, talked to them. Obviously, the obvious thing came up. Again, there will be a little more of that in the video that I'll show on Sunday. And then an ID4 showed up, and that was cool. Talked to the owners there. They'd only owned it for a couple weeks and seemed to be liking it so far. If I remember correctly, I think they were hoping to do some road trips with it. And so we were talking about charging infrastructure and how, this is the only, really fast charger in Minnesota. And then, hopefully EA builds out some more, or some of the other chargers around that are going to go in around the state will be higher powered. So we talked to them a little bit about that. But as I started putting this video together, I realized that, I'd never used Electrify America before. And so showing up on a free day seemed like kind of a cheat because I didn't have to download the app. I didn't have to do any of the stuff that you normally would. So showing up and ending the video with, it works great, don't worry about it. There's no downsides. I thought, well, I better go on a regular day and just double check that. So John and I ran back over there today. Thank you, John. And again, plugged in with the Chatamo adapter. I downloaded the app, in the parking lot. That was stupid. It took me a while to get it set up and everything. But, obviously you would do that before you go to the charger, most likely. And so we did that. And right about as we were getting there, a Polestar 2 pulled in and started charging. And I was like, holy crap, that's a Polestar 2. I heard that you could start getting test drives and things in those, but I can't remember. Like, I saw that in the Minnesota EV Owners Group, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to do that after this weekend drive's over with. I'll maybe see if I can schedule a ride in one. But it was really cool. One was at the EA station. And I thought, well, if the person gets out again to unplug, I will talk to them. It was a woman, and she plugged in, got in her car, and I didn't get a chance to fully park by the time she was back in her car. And she didn't seem real interested in chatting or anything. John and I were standing around. I was then filming some stuff as we plugged in and got my charge started on the Chatamo. And then we were talking by John's car. Again, she was still not, didn't seem real interested in coming out and visiting about it. Another gal came over and started asking us questions about EVs and was wondering what the Polestar was. Again, she stayed in the vehicle. And at first I was like, well, yeah, it's just some person. They don't want to get out and talk to a bunch of weirdos in the parking lot. Why would you? But I will show you this. John sent me some photos too that I will put in the video on Sunday, but I didn't have a chance to get them in here. And so there you see it parked down there, and then the photo is a little bit better. But you can see on the back panel there's a QR code, and there's a little sticker underneath the rear view mirror or the side mirror saying Polestar 2. And the QR code had a little thing, said, Polestar 2, scan for more information. And our first thought was, it's like a test drive car or something, but still, why is that person? They had to be there for 45 minutes at least and didn't really show any signs of leaving. And I thought, well, maybe, at charge stops, sometimes I'll get doing something on my phone and won't really, I'll overcharge because I'm thinking about, what's going on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or something. And then as I was driving home, I was thinking more about it, that it might just be there as, exactly what it was to John and I, as like, oh, hey, this is here, just an attention grabber, and it could either sit on their dealer lot where no one will see it unless they intentionally go there. But if they've got a couple, it makes sense to have one just sit there all day. And I don't know if they have an account where they can stay plugged in without a convenience fee, dwell time fee. I'm not thinking of the right word, but you know what I mean. Idle fee. Or, maybe it was, only half plugged in, so it wasn't actually connected. It just looked like it. I don't know. But it could have been, hey, this is a better spot to get more attention where actual EV drivers would be. Kind of like when people would park the... I'm trying to think of what vehicle that was being parked by... Oh, it was the e-tron. The e-tron kept showing up at different superchargers and just being parked nearby as if, like, I'm going to park nearby here and just get some extra interest from the Tesla folks. So I kind of feel like that was probably the case. And had we actually scanned the code, maybe that would have, registered with her of like, oh, I have to get out and talk to these people. And maybe she was just thinking, oh, these people are driving Teslas, they aren't going to want to talk to me, or maybe she was just shy, or it could have, again, been an individual who just didn't want to talk. But I did find it odd that if it is a demo car, you've got two guys standing there basically staring at your car, and, we weren't like... Well, maybe we were creepy. We weren't trying to be creepy. We were just talking about stuff. But, when you're right there, you would think that's the perfect opportunity. And I would have loved to have picked their brain about the vehicle if it was theirs or if it was a demo vehicle. But anyway, regardless, cool to see. I hope in the next couple of weeks I'll get a chance to drive one, and maybe I'll swing by up there and scan the code if it's sitting there again. So that's pretty cool. I just wanted to share that. John did send, like I said, some different pictures a little closer than mine. And so I will share those in the video on Sunday. It's going to be all about the EA experience and charging with the Tesla. For the most part, it worked out great. I keep trying to end the broadcast instead of switch the scenes. I did want to say the downside is definitely the price of the... bring up my I charged in for 4 minutes for the sake of a demonstration. And let's see if I can look at my account. Charge history. In 4 minutes, I got 3 kilowatts for $1.38. And that was, $1.38 for, let's call it 5 minutes. That'll add up really fast. So I will definitely be sticking to the superchargers. They are cheaper, and I guess I was getting about 40 some kilowatts at about 60% maybe. So 50 some percent. So it wasn't terrible, but just, the sticker shock of, that quick connection was enough to kind of scare me away. But it would be interesting. I don't know if I want to spend this much money, but it would be interesting to do a test of 0 to 100 and see what the cost difference would be between that and a typical other vehicle, for how much range you get in the real world per dollar compared to a gas vehicle. I could maybe do something like that, but I hate to spend that. I hate to waste that much money. Obviously, charging at home, and I think they have a monthly fee. As I set up the app, they have a version of the app where you pay a monthly fee, and I think you get a better rate when you do that. So if I owned an EV that was CCS or a Leaf that would be using the CHAdeMO, pretty exclusively, I would set up that way. But since this was kind of a one-off, just to show it, I chose just the, I'll put money into the account when I want to use it option. So I think that is more expensive. But again, interesting to test, and cool that other than the app setup and the fact that you have to interact with the screen at all, it was relatively seamless. I plugged the adapter in, plugged it into the car, walked over, I had it so I could hold my phone up to it just like I do with ChargePoint, and I had the EA thing, little widget or whatever in my wallet on my phone, and just tapped it. It initiated the charge and started right away. So again, really the only downside was cost and the fact that there's only one in the whole state of Minnesota at this point, which is a considerable downside. But anyway, that's that all worked out, and we got to see some other EVs, which was cool. And good to see that these stations are getting used by other EVs too. That's always good to see. The first time I went to Sherburne, Minnesota, down on I-90, I talked to a trucker who was really interested in, you're charging that, and what's the deal there, and how far can you go, all the typical questions. And he said, I've been stopping here forever, and I've never seen these be used. So I think, especially in as busy a parking lot as that Walmart is, to see them being used is important for the rest of the public. Part of the reason that trucker had never seen them used, I think, is because, people generally, when they're doing Tesla road trips, plug in for 15 minutes and they're on their way. So, there may have been 10 people who used it throughout the day on a, typical weekday, and he happened to be there in one of the gaps between drivers, and that can happen several times. I think, I don't know if it was Neil deGrasse Tyson or who it was using an analogy, I think for something else, but it applies to this too, of just because you dip a net into the ocean and don't get any fish doesn't mean there aren't fish in the ocean. So, it's all about sample size and timing. Just catch up here. Yeah, I have heard. Yes, John, you made it to YouTube. Congratulations. You'll be on there more because I have other B-roll of you. Um, isn't it exciting? Uh, I do think, I can't remember, Kyle Connor has done a test with the Polestar charging it. And I think he did say that the charge curve wasn't great, or it was kind of blocky as it went down. I'd have to go back and look at that. But um, it could be that it just charges really slow. But with the stickers on there, I do think it was a demo car of some kind. Yeah, I guess I could scan I think John has a closer picture that I probably could scan from. One of the ones he sent me. I had a hard time getting them from my phone into my editing software. Sometimes it likes to only see photos from my phone, and then other times it only likes to see videos. So I have to get the right, get it to import correctly to get everything I want in there sometimes. And Polestar doing test drives from the charger. I'm wondering if that's the case. Yeah, they may have been waiting for someone who would come and do a test drive. Yeah, that's a good thought, Tim. That could have been the case. Yeah, I think it would be cool to test drive them. Just as EV drivers, people ask us, what's this like? What's that? What's your opinion of this? I have no it looked like a fine car, but I have no intention of buying one. But if someone asks about it, I want to have a little bit of experience with it. Yeah, Todd, we can definitely do that together. Sure. Dave, I pay, I want to say, I don't have it right in front of me. I think it's 7 cents a kilowatt hour, but it might be 4 on the off peak. It might be 4.3 cents on off peak, because I have a time of use program through our electric company, and so we pay, maybe it's 7 cents for during the day, typical daytime hours, and then in the evening when it hits that spike, I think it goes up to 14 cents. And then weekends and overnights, I think it's down around 4 cents. So it's really cheap. I will have to go back and double check that because I don't have it off the top of my head, but I know I do have that information. Actually, I might be able to pull that up here. Let me see. If you guys can tolerate me looking this up right now. It might remember that I looked at this before. Programs and rebates for your home. Electric vehicle charging. Watch this. Now that I'm going to look at the real thing, I'm going to be completely off. $4. Oh, okay. I was wrong, but not too bad. So we do have a time of use rate. They do have another rate where You can have it so your outlet or your charger is off and unusable until evening, and that's where you can get the 4.87 cents per kilowatt hour. But that means that outlet is unusable at other times, and we've got a child and never know what's going to come up. I wanted to be able to, if we had to pay more in those situations, I was willing to do that. So we have time of use rate, which is 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's 12 to 13 cents per kilowatt hour. 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. it's 44 cents per kilowatt hour. So you really don't want to charge then. Pretty similar to what it was at Electrify America. I think that was 43 cents a kilowatt hour. And then 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. is 7.5 cents a kilowatt hour. So that's what we're paying. And then on the weekends and holidays, it's that 7.5 rate as well. So not quite as good as I thought, but it is. If you didn't want to use your outlet other than overnight only, you could get that better deal. And that's with the Dakota Electric program here in the southern area of Minnesota, just south of the Twin Cities, for those of you who aren't familiar with Minnesota or where Dakota County is. John pays $43 unlimited. $7, okay. $4.4, 11 p.m. to 7. That's pretty good. So you're probably in about the same rate as that overnight only charging. Yeah, that's pretty good. 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. That's good off-peak hours too, John. Yeah, so yeah, if you're paying that peak hour charge, you're paying a lot. But they did have a good rebate for installing the outlet, where I want to say essentially we paid like a $50 fee to set up the program, but then they gave us the second monitor, the second meter for that fee. And then they actually suggested an electrician. We had originally got a quote from one of the Tesla suggested electricians that was going to be, I think, $1,200. And it was like, oh man, everything, we had just bought our first Tesla. Like, man, everything in Tesla world is crazy expensive. And so after I talked to that guy, then I called the electric company and said, can we get on this program? And they said, yeah, do you have an electrician yet? I said, well, we've got one, but, I need to look for other quotes. And so they gave me a list of, people they recommended or worked in the area, and called a guy, and he came and did it for $650, I want to say, $620 maybe. And then I got a $500 rebate for installing a vehicle charger. So, all in all, it was $150, maybe $200, all told, for having the plug put in. So a great deal there. So, have I posted the supercharger trip around Minnesota? Did I miss it? I haven't yet. It's coming this weekend, is the weekend of the trip. And I will go back. Unfortunately, again, I've been working on a lot of other stuff, and actually getting this trip set up and I joined the South Dakota Tesla Owners Group too, because we'll be going through South Dakota. I wanted to invite people from there to join in for the South Dakota parts, or the whole thing if they want. And then Destiny from the North Dakota Owners Group was saying, hey, you should tell the different local papers about it too, because they might want to come and meet and, do a story. They're always looking for stories like that. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. I need to write something up that makes sense to papers. So, that was kind of a process of, writing in a way that I grew up in a small town, and I know sometimes small town reporting can be copying and pasting. So even if we end up going there and doing an interview, I wanted to have a decently well-written explanation of what was going on, in case chunks of that make it into articles as well. So I spent some time writing that up, and I'm in the process. I've sent a few emails to different papers. We'll see if I haven't heard anything back. We'll see if anybody shows up at the Chargers or not. But it would be cool. It would be cool to get, more coverage. But because I've been doing that, I haven't been working on the graphics for it. So this is still the very old graphics. If you haven't seen this and aren't familiar with it, originally I was going to do a nautical theme, and it was going to be circumnavigate the state. But that's really hard to read in a thumbnail, and it's really way over complex to say. So I called it the Supercharger Roundup now. It's more of kind of a Western, guy roping the state with the route we're going to take around. But the route is pretty much the same as this. So forgive these terrible first draft graphics. And I will try to pause it. And boy, after I haven't seen this for a while, it looks so much worse than what we're actually going with. But you'll have to humor me here. And I'm going to pause this when it stops. So, yeah, now it's completely different themed, and going to be the Minnesota Supercharger Roundup. But you can see we're going to start in Rochester, go down to Albert Lee, Sherburne, Watertown, Sioux Falls, up to Watertown, spend the night in Fargo, up to Grand Forks, over to Bemidji, probably straight over to Carlton. I would love to go to, and the original plan was good to go up to Two Harbors and then come down the coast a little bit. But as I was looking at time, that means getting back to Minneapolis pretty late on a Sunday night. And I thought, if anybody is going to join me on this, I don't mind myself getting back late, but if people are going to join up for a fun weekend, I don't want to, have them get home at, midnight and then all right, we got work tomorrow. What did you do this weekend? I just drove and, did nothing else. I guess that could be an argument for going to Two Harbors, because then at least you get more scenery and could pop out of the car. But if we have vehicles like I know Todd was talking about, Jason, I thought your comment was, stop it, get rid of the bad graphic. But I appreciate that. But, I was talking to Todd, I think it was in the chat a while ago, or maybe when we were up at Black Bear, we were talking about, some of those older Teslas might not be able to make it from, from Bemidji to Two Harbors and then down to Duluth without running out. Or they'd have to stop in Duluth, instead of Carlton, which we could do that too, but Carlton's the new flashy thing, so I wanted to highlight that it's new in there. So anyway, that is this weekend. The information is on the Tesla Owners Group, the North Dakota Tesla Owners Group, and South Dakota Tesla Owners Group. So if you're in all three of those groups, I'm sorry if I sent you 3 invites, through the automated invite feature. But hopefully people from the other states will join. I think Jason Moser from Mandan, which is right next to Bismarck. He's maybe coming over for the Fargo to Grand Forks run because he wants to see the Grand Forks supercharger as well. If you don't know Jason, he's got, and you saw my North Dakota video series last year, he's the one who had the Cybertruck hat. And if he's coming, maybe I can get him to bring that because it's pretty cool. He made it out of foam. It's got LEDs and stuff, and it's pretty wacky and cool. So, we'll see. Hopefully people join. I do have a full, rough itinerary. Obviously, the size of the group, if it's large and we need to give people more time to charge, that's going to slow down a little bit. I don't think that'll be a problem. But there's always weather, construction, road problems. I've heard on trips like this that people can blow tires. I don't know, if that's a real thing or not, but I am better prepared for it. Well, I'm exactly the same prepared for it as I was last time. So there's that. So we'll just have to wait and see how the timing shakes out. But I would like to keep moving on pretty well. But if people want to meet at superchargers, I don't want to be there for 5 minutes and then go, well, see you later. I'm not spending any time here. So I think we built in a half hour at least at each supercharger. And if no one shows up, we'll just, head out when everybody's charged. Or, if some people are talking and want to hang out a little longer and lag, that's fine. We can have kind of a, it doesn't have to be a perfect everybody following everybody right behind. I know Tyler's going to want to follow Todd so he can make sure to get as many rock chips as possible. So that's there. So Rochester I'm going to be there by 8:30 in the morning and plan to leave at 9 on Saturday morning. And then in Fargo, I can't remember what time we get there, 7 something at night. And then I want to leave the Fargo supercharger. I figured if people want to stay at different hotels, or like Jason will probably drive straight over and then join us. But if that's the case, then we'd meet at the supercharger in the morning and leave that supercharger by 9 a.m. and kind of make that route across. So we'll see. Whoever comes or whoever meets, I hope it's fun. And if nobody does, I'll try to make a fun video out of it. Maybe I'll do something like is it Jack Black who's sitting on a swing and like standing in an empty swimming pool? That kind of meme of, waiting. Maybe I'll have some fun with that. But like I said, it would be fun to see other people, definitely some other people from the States. I want to do supercharger reviews at each one of them. I've done some of them. Somebody's already got Bemidji covered from a now you know standpoint, but I think it would be cool to, at each one of them, maybe, have different people talk so it's not just me of like, hey, what's your favorite feature here? What kind of speeds are you getting? If we have people from local areas saying, this restaurant's really good, that one is poisonous, don't go there. And just kind of have fun with it. And, we can maybe turn it into some pretty fun stuff. So I am going to get that graphic off of there. you've seen the route. If you've watched the other live streams, you've seen that. So, yeah, so that's what's in the works for the weekend. Originally, I was going to have my daughter with me. After I figured out the full schedule, my wife and I took a look at it and decided maybe it's not the most fun trip for an 8-year-old. So she's going to stay home. Because originally I was thinking, well, we'll stay at Fargo. She liked the swimming pool when we did our last road trip. And, the more we started thinking about, like, okay, every supercharger stop is a half hour, and then we just get moving. And there's not much time to play and run around, and if I'm going to be filming stuff, or, if, like, some of these newspapers do show up. Todd was with me at Black Bear, and the minute the presentation started, Joan just kind of melted down. And that's distracting for, people who are trying to do a thing. But it's also tough as a parent to just ignore that and, kind of get to the business of, trying to promote EVs, which is really what this is about. So I'm very grateful to my wife, who's changed her weekend plans pretty significantly to single parent it while I'm gone. But it should be fun, and hopefully Friday night, if people are in Fargo, or Saturday night, if people are in Fargo, we can get dinner somewhere, maybe get some drinks, and relax after the long day of driving. And, hit the road and maybe hit some spots, some of the parks and things along, kind of the northern edge of the state. And next year, maybe we'll include Canada. Maybe we'll do the big wide loop, if this becomes a fun thing people want to do. Maybe for that, we might have to add another day or two. But it would be cool. I'd love to see the Trans-Canada Highway. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen Trevor and Ian's Canadian Cannonball they did last year. Last year? It was either at the very beginning of this year or last year. Right after all the superchargers opened up across Canada, they cannonballed in the winter across the Trans-Canada Highway. They've done a couple of their podcasts about that. So if you haven't seen that, that's kind of cool, especially, Aaron, if you like the long way up. They don't have as much footage. It's more just talking about the journey, but they talk about the preparation and some of the challenges they ran into. That was really good. And then just today, as I was mowing the lawn, I heard them interview a couple guys who went from, I want to say, Portugal to, I can't remember the name of the cape in Portugal, kind of kitty corner across and north in Europe, all the way to another cape at the north of Norway, and to the northernmost supercharger, and maybe past it. Excuse me. Yes, audio's on. Great. But they interviewed those guys, and that was their last episode of the Tesla Owners Online podcast, or it's on YouTube as well. And it was just kind of interesting to see, some of the similar things to road trips I've done. Obviously, Trevor and Ian's road trip, and just some of the suggestions they had, the good, the bad, the ugly, of, doing some of these monster trips. And I don't, we're stopping to sleep, which they didn't. They slept in the car in shifts. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, I suggest it, because it's kind of fun, good road trip stories, and, different decisions they had to make, especially in Europe with different kinds. There's so much charging infrastructure in Europe, which is great. But they had to map out, well, this is a faster route, but the charging is V2 if they stuck to the supercharger network. This is a longer route, but we get V3 charging, and which one to pick. And so they talked through some of those different decisions they made as well. So pretty good viewing if you haven't seen that stuff. All right, I got way behind here. Yeah, the chair, I'm going way back now. And Jason, you had something about where your PPF is too. Your PPF is almost done, previewed on Instagram for Platinum. Well, I'm glad. I hope are you gonna have the car back by the weekend if the PPF's almost done? That would be cool. Yeah, it would be cool if you could join on this, but if you're doing a charity walk, then that's obviously got more value. Somebody else said they were doing an event where they were going to be giving test rides, and I'm like, yeah, butts and seats, that's better than, like, I do think there's some, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think there was value to it. I think there's value to showing you can road trip and, hey, look at all these new ones we have across the state and around the state. There's definitely value in that, in a broad sense, but there's nothing like getting butts in seats and actually, getting people in the vehicles. So there again, that's probably a better use of people's time. Yeah, John, I think the new Tesla chargers do have longer cables, or maybe you can order them. You might be able to order them two ways, like with an 8-foot and a 25-foot. I think that was the last thing I heard. Tyler, hi. I already made fun of your rock chips, so I know you're here. You guys are getting a second Model 3. That's pretty exciting. Any idea when that's going to show up? Is that going to be January, or are they cranking those out faster? Tesla CHAdeMO adapters for sale for $300. That's not bad. Tyler finally bought a NEMA 1450 adapter, staying down his uncle's for a week using a wall outlet was painful. Yeah. Oh, the 110 outlet was, or 120 outlet was overheating. Yeah, I've got, I don't think I really ever need it, but my mother needed to have some electrical work done, and the electrician was swamped, so hasn't got back to her. But I said I'd be happy to pay for putting a 1450 outlet at your house. Kind of selfishly when we go down for holidays, but also it might be easier for her or my brother who lives with there to switch to an EV if the outlet's already there. It's one thing already figured out. Or easier to sell the house if it's already there. And again, just one more thing down the road. chat just jumped here, so sorry. Oh yeah, 1450 for his RV. That is a bummer. Yeah, more 0 to 60 testing on the freeway. Do a weekday trip someday. I could probably do that. Aaron, I can't remember. Oh, the Lake Superior Circle Tour. I want to get back to that in a second. I'm going to catch the other one. Brian's buying lunch for everybody. We'll see how many people there are. That might be possible. I can maybe buy. Well, again, I don't know how many people are going to show up. Maybe I can get a round of drinks for everybody in Fargo, something like that. We'll see. I don't want to come home to divorce papers, as much as I'd love to treat everyone. If only we were back in the days when banking took 5 or 6 days to get a receipt through. Yeah, okay. Brian gets to crank up Motley Crue to Def Leppard. Yeah. Yeah, I do, like, I love having my daughter road trip with me. I absolutely adore it. It's so much fun. We do and sing goofy stuff the whole time. It's fun little kid stuff, but being able to turn your own music up loud and just enjoy it or listen to your like boring Tesla podcasts that bore her to tears. It's nice to be able to do that when you're on your own. So the Lake Superior tour, I would absolutely love to do this. I've wanted to do this all my life. I don't know if from a supercharger standpoint it's completely doable, although I think in the Tesla Owners Online podcast I was listening to, they were talking about how a lot of their route was across the north edge of Lake Superior. And I know there's a supercharger in Thunder Bay. So the trick would be getting, my geography is not super, but kind of where Lake Superior meets, this is probably backwards for you, but there's that kind of knot of Great Lakes where Lake Superior meets Lake Michigan, and is it Erie next? Erie or Huron, I can't remember which is next, or I might be missing one, but I'm not sure how you get, like, if there's a ferry or something that would take you through that chunk, but it's definitely worth looking at, and next year it would be incredible to do that trip. That would be a good trip I've always wanted to go see. Just go all the way around the lake and enjoy that. So definitely that's a great suggestion for a good trip. It would be amazing to do it in the fall with the leaves, but I don't think I can swing it this year to be able to do that big of a trip. But that would be cool, and it would be cool to get Canadian Tesla owners as well to join us, or other EV owners if possible. Again, just join on different lengths or meetups wherever we can, and maybe take a little longer with it. That could be pretty cool. I think there are more chargers in northern Wisconsin now, and maybe in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan that might make that possible. It would be awesome. Borders open for vaccinated people. I think Yeah, I think it is with some paperwork. And yeah, so it might be, again, hopefully next year it's a lot easier to do. Oh, sorry, Jason, if I spilled the beans, but yeah, it's looking forward to when it's done at 10 Pros and we can all see it. Uh, Model 3 standard range. Oh, her delivery date is October 27th to November 26th. That's a big window, but I mean, it's a month long window, but that's cool if you could still get it this year. Um, should look for another demo. I don't get that, but I'm assuming you guys know what you're talking about. This is barcode. Oh, looks like John sent me the barcode on the side of the Polestar. Thank you for doing that, John. Okay, they just built the last piece in Michigan for superchargers. Okay. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Superior trip looks doable if you can get from Duluth to Thunder Bay. You can probably make it all the way. Marquette to Duluth would be a big stretch, though. Okay. Yeah, I think I've poked around a little bit with PlugShare on in northern Wisconsin, but I haven't looked at it because a friend of mine was asking for how long it would take to get from my hometown to Bayfield, Wisconsin, and it's actually a test I want to do down the road because obviously if they own a place up there, and so it would be easy to install a charger at their place there. There's a hotel that's got destination charging in town, so I'd like to do it. And I think last time I looked with the Model Y, you can do it with one stop in either Hinckley or Duluth. Now, I guess, now that Carlton at the Black Bear is open, that would probably be your stop. And it was only like a 15-minute stop or something like that. So that's one of those things I want to try in person. Again, just to prove that, yeah, it says you can do it, but you actually can do it, or no, you can't. This was a huge pain in the butt. You know, that kind of stuff is valuable too. Oh, I got multiple mice I'm working on here, multiple trackpads. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's a doable thing next year. I want to do the Lake Superior Circle tour as well. Yeah, with extra time for seeing sites. That's one of the things that was a big takeaway for me from the mountain run we did this year. Is we were going so hard to prove how many miles we could put on and how many things we could see in one trip. You know, just like you could in a nice car. And you could do that in a nice car and not take the time to enjoy the sights, just like we did. Where we saw things and we enjoyed them, but not to the level I wish we would have. So definitely, like I said, that doing the Lake Superior trip has always kind of been a dream of mine, of going all the way around there. So if we're going to do it, it would be cool to build in several days and, you know, good stops, you know, breaks between drives, not just stop at a lodge, then get going in the morning, stop at a lodge, get going in the morning, you know, really, you know, savor that experience. Uh, Please give lots of notice if you're going to attempt the circle tour. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, definitely. I will. I would make an event of it and everything, and yeah, it would be cool to have as many people as possible. And uh, there again, maybe do some polling or something to see when the best time where the most people who want to come could come, and kind of hone in a time. So that would be super cool. Yeah, between Marquette and Duluth, if 250 miles. If we all went 55, well, the upside of some of those roads around the lake is you do have to go pretty slow. So, probably we wouldn't want to do it on like a Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend, where there's going to be lots and lots of traffic. I guess we could do the Canadian part over that time period. I think they have a Memorial Day or a Remembrance Day or something, but I don't think it's at the same time ours is. $253 watt hour per mile going 80. I can't believe, I wish I still had the stock tires that came on the Model Y, because I think those were better rolling resistance than the ones I have on it. I just did the roll route range test and got 255, which was okay, but I really feel like I should be able to get more out of the vehicle. So that was a little bit of a disappointing result. There again, I didn't go under zero, just because I had Joan in the car and wanted to keep it sane if we got stranded somewhere. But I think that's one of the things this weekend I'm gonna try to focus on is using reasonable speeds and keeping. I also always pack way too much, so the car's heavier than it needs to be. So try to get my average watt hour per mile down, because I always seem to be in the 300s. In the Model S, I was always in the 400s. Not always, but a lot of times. So got to work on that. Could be a lead foot issue. We'll see. Three Lakes Winery has destination charging. That's pretty good. Let's go for it. Yeah, Tim, that was definitely my experience with the Model S for sure. I got the Model Y in March, but then when we were on our road trip around the mountains in the spring, we had the tires replaced because we blew a tire in North Dakota, and they couldn't get it would have taken 3 or 4 days to get the same tire to North Dakota. And I didn't know if we ran something over, if it had hit some of the other tires. And so rather than just patching it, which at the time I wasn't confident in, now I would have been, I went with replacing all 4 tires. But they were relatively cheap tires, and the ones they had that would fit. So I don't think they're probably real great for EVs. They're probably truck tires or something. They're fine. They obviously have done the job. Although I did get a flat in that set too, but was able to patch it. But I think definitely when these wear out, I am going to look for lower rolling resistance tires that are made more for EVs, because I think that could be part of the problem. Again, it could be my driving style too. Iowa City to Albert Lee, max speed 86, 255 watt hours per mile. That 3 is so low and slippery, though, too. The Y's kind of, I think John, as he was following me today, it said it kind of looks a little bit like the back of a whale when you're following it. It kind of does. It's not bad, but 81, another 255 miles an hour. Rochester to Mount Pleasant, Iowa. 82, 238 miles. Jeepers, creepers. Without your aero caps on. That is super efficient. That is crazy. Wow. Maybe I should have you do a range test and film it. You can yeah, you can do my range tests from now on, Tyler. It could also be, I'm guessing a lot of those runs were straight, where you just put the cruise on or autopilot on and let it ride at that speed constantly the whole time. Because when Tom Malogney did his 70 mile an hour range test with the Model Y, he got 275 miles out of it, which was, I think, 20 more miles than I got out of mine. And he didn't go below 0 either on his. But he also didn't have all the stops and detours of going through, rural communities, which was part of what I was testing. I was just still hoping for better results. Excuse me. Yeah, autopilot on the freeway. Cool. Well, I'm pretty much out of things to talk about. I don't know about you guys, but I've been watching a lot of TV today. Watching the Dragon Inspiration 4 take off, and kind of all the build up around that. I did watch the other episodes. I didn't binge that whole countdown show on Netflix today. But it was, if you haven't, again, I really recommend that show. And they're going to do another couple episodes. Like today was the live day, obviously, with everything going on with the launch. But they are going to do another 2 episodes, I think, once they're back, where it will be the launch and their time up in space. And then, I'm assuming the final episode will be coming back. What does it mean? Meeting, people again and all that stuff. So I assume there will be, some pretty good wrap up to it in the coming weeks. And I'm sure they'll be giving lots of updates and stuff on Twitter and other social media as well. Looking at the speed efficiency graph that Testify generates, super interesting. Apparently my car is 90 to 80% efficient up to 70 miles an hour. Drops like a brick after that. Well, I don't know. It sounds like you're doing pretty well after 80 miles an hour to me. So you're doing something right. I need to do a review of charging apps and some of these different statistic apps. Because I've used... definitely curious to hear more about watt-hour range tests for watt-hour per mile and range tests with the Plaids. I've heard they're pretty good. Just anecdotally, it sounds like they're able to get pretty close to their rated range. I'm not sure where I heard that from, so we'll have to see how until Jason runs it dry and he can tell us. But I totally got distracted from what I was saying before. But If you can join us over the weekend and even stopping in at a supercharger, I think we're going to end at the Minneapolis supercharger by, is that Seven Corners Target? So if you can join us for that, then great. That'll be Sunday night. We'll kind of do a wrap up before everybody goes on their way. I know I can charge enough I could charge enough at Black Bear to make it all the way home, but I want to stop at all the chargers along the path just to point out that there's ample charging along this path and highlight that the chargers are there. So that's kind of the point of it. But anyway, if you can join us for one of the meetups, the information's in the different Tesla groups for the states. I haven't posted it in the Minnesota EV owners group. I might tomorrow. I'm debating it. Sometimes I feel a little hesitant to do that just because of because so much of my content is Tesla centric that I've been trying not to share so much in that group that that it's not just like Tesla, Tesla, Tesla all the time. Give some of the other EVs and other EV owners some breathing room. But I also think it would be really cool if other people want to show up to some of these superchargers in non-Tesla EVs. I think that would be great to show people too, especially in like the water towns and the Grand Forks, Bemidji, places where people don't think of EVs existing. If somebody shows up in a Mach-E or a Polestar or ID4 or Bolt or whatever, just to hang out, I think that would be super cool. I guess I just haven't figured the right way to phrase it to that group without sounding like, hey, we're doing a Tesla thing and no one else is invited, because I don't want it to come off that way. So, but I do want to invite others to join us. So maybe I'll just post the itinerary in there and say, hey, if you'd like to join us, this is where we estimate we'll be. And then see if they want me to create an event for it, I can. But again, I don't want to be too Tesla pushy, because I think some people in that group get a little tired of hearing about Tesla all the time. So trying to be a good neighbor, be friendly, and welcoming. So that's it for me tonight, unless anybody else has anything. Like I said, we've all been, if you've watched the Inspiration 4 takeoff, you've probably been watching a lot of stuff tonight. So I appreciate you then taking the time to sit through this and hang out with me. And really looking forward to this weekend trip. Like I said, Sunday's video, I'll be filming all weekend, for the big trip. But Sunday's video will be John and I's experience at the Electrify America station. We'll have better shots of the Polestar and some of those Bolt conversations we had, and some other fun stuff there. So that was cool. Definitely interesting to check out a different charging network. I like that it's clean and relatively simple and relatively easy to use. I don't know if that's always been the case, but it seems to be now. And overall I was pretty impressed. I would not use it unless I was absolutely in a pinch, where the supercharger network I kind of feel is, again, just because of the cost and simplicity, definitely going to be my go-to. But again, that's because I own a Tesla. So that's that. Have a great night. Thanks for joining. Again, I really appreciate you guys spending your evening with me, or catching this later, or tomorrow, or whenever. But happy to chat with everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you later. And we do the dance where I look for the last scene, and I've got it now. Thanks again. Good night, guys.